Hi, my name is Zaak Kerstetter. Welcome to another KMG video series where every week we take a look at a different fun feature or technique dealing with music production with Ableton Live. And today I want to take a little look at the grain delay and specifically how to make crystallizing effects with the grain delay. So if you've ever used the plugin by Soundtoys called the Crystalizer, which is a fantastic plugin that I definitely recommend checking out, it does this cool, weird, pitchy, delayed kind of sound that can sound really pretty and can do a lot of fun stuff. So I want to be able to make something very similar to that plugin, but use the grain delay inside Ableton Live. So the grain delay is actually a fantastic device that can do a lot of really fun stuff, but it can be really extreme and really hard to kind of dial in to get it to do exactly what you want it to do. So before we take a look at grain delay, I want to first take a look at the regular delay, because a lot of these features on the regular delay are going to be the exact same thing on the grain delay. So if you know if they work in one, you know how they work in the other. So inside the delay, we have three really important controls. We have the dry wet control, which will control the volume of the original signal versus the volume of the delay. So if I have my dry wet set to, say, 22%, my original signal will be louder than the delays. If I set it to 50%, my original signal, my original note, and my delays will be the same volume. And at 75, my delays will be louder than my original signal. Like that. If I turn it all the way to 100%, I won't hear the original signal, I'll only hear the delays. If I turn it to 0%, I won't hear any delays at all. So this is the volume of your original signal versus the volume of your delays. Pretty straightforward. And then the feedback is going to be how many times you hear the echo after the original signal. So at 0%, you'll hear it one time. You'll hear the original signal once, and then you hear the delay once. Like that. But as I turn this up, you're going to hear it echo out for longer. And if you turn it all up to 95%, it's going to take quite a while. And eventually it'll go away, but it might take a little bit. You can just turn the feedback down and that'll get rid of it. So feedback being how many echoes you have. And then we have the timing of our delay. So these numbers are actually set in 16th notes. So this means 1 16th note, so it's going to be a very fast delay. 2 16th notes being an 8th note. Quarter notes, etc. So larger numbers means it's going to take more time to actually get to your delays. So those are the three really important controls here: timing, feedback, dry wet. If we take a look over at the grain delay, we're going to see exactly those same controls. So we're going to have timing here, once again in 16th notes. We have dry wet, which defaults to 100%, and feedback, which defaults to 0%. So right now if I hit this, we're not even going to hear original signal. We're just going to hear our delayed signal. So let me turn down our dry wet to a decent amount, and then our feedback up. If we set it like that, it should just sound like a pretty standard delay. These three controls work basically the exact same way. They work inside of our delay. Then we have 4 extra controls, 2 dealing with pitch and 2 dealing with granular processing. So the 2 pitch controls are pretty straightforward. This is going to take our delayed signal and pitch it either up or down in semitones. So I can go up to an octave above the note that I'm playing or down to 3 octaves below the note that I'm playing. So if I turn this up to, say, 7.5, we're going to hear the original signal, and then the delayed signals will be higher pitch. Like that. And the longer the feedback is, the longer they'll kind of pitch themselves up. Which is kind of cool. If I set this to a whole octave, again, we get this like really cool, interesting sound design just by playing with the pitch control and the feedback control. And when we try having a longer delay time and see how that sounds. You get some like pretty cool, like trippy space alien insect sound design, which is pretty awesome. And then we can also randomize the pitch here. So this is obviously going to take the delayed signal and randomize the pitch. This tends to get you this kind of like nightmarish landscape of just like really just kind of like awful sounds, which might be what you want to go for. If you want to go for like really kind of like dissonant, atonal horror music kind of thing, go for it. That's probably not what I'm using this for primarily. But those are your 2 pitch controls. In addition, we have our 2 actually granular part of our grain delay, the spray and the frequency. So if you don't know how granular processing works, basically, instead of playing your signal from beginning to end, it's going to randomly jump around between different parts of your signal in time, which is pretty cool. So the spray is going to be how much it randomizes the timing down from 0 milliseconds, so right now it's not doing anything, up to 500 milliseconds. So if I give this a little bit of spray, you're going to hear my delay will still in this case be on 1/8 notes, but it's going to randomize the timing a little bit. And you can actually hear some of those are shorter or longer than the other ones. And if I turn this up really high, you'll really hear it jump around. So you get this like very kind of arrhythmic delay, which is kind of cool. And then we have the frequency. So the frequency is going to be how long our little randomized slices are going to be. And this is a little confusing because smaller numbers actually mean longer slices, and shorter numbers mean, or higher numbers mean shorter slices. So I have this turned down. It's not really doing a whole lot, but as I start to turn this up, at like 5 to 10, it sounds kind of like almost like a little tremolo kind of effect. And once you get above 10, it almost becomes like a flanger or a chorus. And then once you get beyond that, it really gets like pretty noisy because our slices are too small, which can be kind of harsh. So I tend to like having my frequency be below about 13 or 14 hertz, and then my spray being somewhere kind of in the middle here. And I get this really kind of like abstract textural delay, which is really nice. And then if we want to add in the crystallization part of this, let's go ahead and take our pitch and turn it back up to 12. Now I'm just getting all these cool, interesting, like crystallized sounds. So if I don't want to hear the original signal, I can turn my drive up to 100%, and that way I'll just get those delayed sounds. If I don't want it to last quite so long, I can turn down my feedback. I can make them shorter. Or maybe add my piano back into it. So yeah, a lot of interesting, like cool textural noises you can get out of this just by playing with those controls. The two controls I'd really like watch out for are the randomized pitch, which can get pretty wonky with pitch, and then the frequency, making sure the frequency is toned down. Other than that, you can really kind of play around with your settings. I generally like using the pitch as a positive number as opposed to a negative number. It can still work though. To me, it's not quite as interesting in most situations as using positive numbers. Get some of those like cool textural sounds, but that's totally up to you. The other thing I'd like to point out that can be a little confusing is this XY controller here. I personally don't really use the XY controller a lot because it tends to make things sound a little too crazy. For example, if you start modulating your spray and your frequency while it's playing, again, it's like some pretty like nasty sounds. Sometimes that might be what you want to go for, but sometimes it's not. So with the XY controller, depending on which button you press here will change which parameter is on the y-axis and which parameter is on the x-axis by controlling these buttons here. So for example, right now we have frequency and randomized pitch. So if I move this around, it's specifically moving random pitch and it's moving frequency. Frequency when I move left to right, and randomized pitch when I move up and down. But if I switch this to be, say, spray and feedback, now it's controlling feedback and spray as I go up and down for spray and left and right for feedback. So this can create some really cool, interesting combinations for motion and mapping things and moving things around. But if you're just learning the device and just getting started with it, I would maybe stay away from this at first until you get comfortable with which kinds of settings you like and which kinds of settings you like to move around. But hopefully you find that's useful. I think a lot of people stay away from the grain delay because it is so extreme and can be really over the top in terms of the sounds you're going to get out of it. But if you dial it in and you get the settings just right, you can make some really cool, pretty sounds. It can be great for pad sounds, atmospheric sounds, great for just like background sound design, space alien sound design. A lot of fun stuff you can do with it if you really explore it and kind of learn the ins and outs of how it works. So hopefully that's useful. Try it out, try to make some cool crystallized sounds for yourself, and keep an eye out for more videos coming from KMG real soon. Thanks for watching.